1, 2. Testing 1, 2.
So I was using this. I used the speaker setting the next time I set it up. It went to default the first time. Then I went to speaker setting. Just muted myself. Do you want me to reload the site again? Okay. And it's on start. Now, do you want me to go to the mic again? Okay. Sorry, who's that? Do you want?
Testing 1, 2. Test 1, 2. We got it. Tell me you have it. So that's the answers people want to hear from speakers. Tell me you've got the test 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. We're going to have a great session tonight, guys, at this PPC rally. We've got 2 great guest speakers, maybe a third, definitely 2. One is Alex Cassell, PPC candidate for Rideau Lakes, Leeds, Grenville, and the Thousand Islands. Second speaker we have tonight is Randy Hillier, MPP Independent from Lanark County. How's that working? You got it?
My girlfriend's sister.
I will try.
And she makes meat books and stuff like that. She goes on all over the bunch. So I thought, if I send it to you, I'll take photos of it and send it.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, folks, can I have your attention, please? We are going to start our little guest speaker session. I'll start with a bit of a monologue to get us all warmed up. The first thing I'm going to say is I am Canadian. It appears from the applause that all of you are Canadian as well. Now, if this were 10 years ago, I'd do a monologue and hold up a Molson Canadian, but I'm not going to do that. Folks, I grew up in Perth, Ontario, just north of here. I spent my adult life in Oakville, Ontario, down in the GTA. And then I retired to Gananoque. And I must say, the people of Gananoque have welcomed my wife and I. There's my wife right behind me taking pictures. So I'd like to thank Gananoque for welcoming us into the community. I'm going to admit that I was a relative sheep politically for many years. And it's kind of embarrassing, but I'm being honest. And just before the last election, actually, it was right in and around when Maxime lost the PC leadership convention a few years before that, where I was like, there's something fishy going on. This guy had the lead for, most of the, like literally 11 different votings. And then all of a sudden at the end, he got defeated. There's something wrong, something fishy. Yep. So before last election, my nephew, okay, so it's the younger generation that woke me up, folks. My nephew called me and he says, what are you doing right now? And I was literally I used to run pub trivia in Oakville, and I was just killing about 40 minutes until I was going to go to pub trivia. And I said, well, I'm just sitting waiting to go to pub trivia. He says, you got to go on the link. I'm going to send you a link. You got to listen to Maxime Bernier speak. So I listened to Maxime Bernier speak, and I'm like, my gosh, this stuff all makes sense. I don't know why the VCs chose Andrew Scheer over Maxime Bernier. And so I woke up. I even helped Alexander, my nephew, at the national convention before the election in Ottawa. Because I'm bilingual, I taught French my whole career. I helped the Quebec people come in and register with my French and stuff like that. So I kind of got involved politically last election. The last election, I can proudly say without embarrassment, I voted PPC. Now, I'm telling you, folks, I am proud. And I know that my candidate here in Leeds, Grenville, I actually voted from Oakville, but because I was moving to Leeds, Grenville, I voted for the guy in Leeds, Grenville. I know we didn't win. I know Maxime didn't win his seat. But it was then that I started to feel the purple wave coming at us. And I'm telling you, folks, over the last week and a half, the more corrupt the government is, like not just the national government, but the provincial government, yesterday basically slamming through a the passport thing. I'm going to tell you, folks, there's hope. There's two reasons for hope. Now, listen to me. You can cheer all you want. I don't really care at the end of these two or after each one individually. Does not matter. The first hope is that there is the purple wave, the PPC. I'll continue with that thought, then I'll get to the second hope. Today was International Walkout Day for the nurses. Because nurses, thank you, frontline nurses who've been working tirelessly here for 18 months are now told, and they did this all without vaccines, etc. Oh, by the way, if you don't get your vaccine, you're fired as of October, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's wrong. It's completely wrong. So today was International Walkout Day. All across Canada, there was some select hospitals where there was protest. And folks, if you've been watching mainstream media, you're missing the boat. Every Saturday, for about, 8 months now, in downtown Toronto, at noon, there was a protest, a No More Lockdowns protest march. Every single Saturday. The Torontonians get it. But you guys don't know about it if you've been watching mainstream news, because they will not report on it.
CBC sucks.
There you go. Anyway, but here's the kicker. So today I saw out in Saskatoon where Mark Friesen is. If you don't know Mark Friesen, look him up on social media. He's one of the strongest PPC candidates from the first election, and now he's a strong candidate this election. He was out in front of the Saskatoon hospital. There had to be 1,000 people out there. And it was literally a PPC rally. It was awesome. The purple wave is happening. In London, Ontario, Randy Hillier's own daughter, can't even find Randy Hillier now. Where is he hiding? Back there. His daughter, who's running in London Middlesex region, had her plethora of PPC people out supporting the nurses, supporting the people, supporting the citizens of Ontario. Now, the second reason for hope. So the first reason is the PPC. That's a given. The second reason for hope is there are two that I know of, one in BC and one in Ontario. It's a private group on Facebook called something like Ontario Businesses Against VPAS. When I left to come here about 3:30-ish, there was over 74,000 businesses that are going to run, and they're going to say, I'm not asking for your V passport. I don't care what they tell me. Now, folks, listen carefully. Randy Hillier, the guy I'm going to introduce, well, I'm in the process of introducing, but anyway, Randy Hillier started about a year and a half ago with what I would call relative sort of civil disobedience, if you will. Now, some people have complained, but Randy's saying, look, I know we're Canadian, I know we're nice, but we can't just say yes to everything. At some point, we have to stand up and fight for what we believe or what we have the right, and that's freedom. This election is the most important election of our lifetime. I'm 55, and it's the most important election of my lifetime. And it is important. This is an election of freedom. Now, freedoms have been slowly whittled away because of this pandemic. 2 weeks to flatten the curve. 2 jabs, which now they've got room on there's forms you can on the line. I've seen on Facebook and Twitter upwards of 6 booster shots in the queue. Well, folks, it's not 2 jabs. Now, I'm going to bring up to warm the table. We got 3 speakers. We got Randy Hillier's going to warm the table for us. He's been fighting this process for a long time. Second, we've got the candidate from Kingston and the Islands. Yeah, Shelley-Udall right there. She wants to take about 10 minutes, talk to you guys. She's very passionate. Every PPC candidate is passionate. They're not politicians. If you've been listening to Alex Cassell on social media, I've heard him say 2 or 3 times, I'm not a politician. I'm a citizen who wants change. And every PPC candidate is that way. Shelley is one of them. She'll tell you her story. She wants about 10 minutes to practice for a debate she's in tomorrow night. So let's give her a round of applause when we get there. And then, for the main event tonight, your Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, Rideau Lakes candidate, Alex Cassell. Give him a round of applause. We're saving him till last, but without any further ado, folks, a man you've seen all over social media, a man who's been fighting for every one of our rights all year long. He needs no introduction, but I'm introducing him anyway. Randy Hillier, let's get up for Randy Hillier!
I was at an NBA game with Steve making that announcement. Listen, thank you all for being here again tonight. Thank you all for coming out for freedom today again. And it's even nice to see a member of the press here today, and we can see his face. And I haven't seen that very often in Ontario. Listen, Steve said this election is an important one. I think I would say that just to call this an election is downplaying its importance. It's underestimating its significance. This election is not just an election. It's a battle. It's a war. And on one side of it is tyranny. The other is liberty. And we choose liberty with the PPC. We've been on a really dark path for the last 18 months in Ontario. And if we're not successful on September 20th, it's going to get a lot darker. Some people can't imagine how much darker it can be, but it will. We've seen all our political parties, all our governments are invested in a narrative of fear, a story of danger, a narrative of terror for all of us. And it doesn't matter whether you look at Doug Ford in Toronto with the Conservatives, or Justin Trudeau in Ottawa with the Liberals, or Jagmeet Singh. All of them want us to live in fear and terror. And one party says no. One party, the People's Party of Canada, says we are free Canadians. I want to address a couple of things that I heard from many people. First off, there's a lot of people who have conflated what happened in the United States and think that our election could be rigged here as well. That's untrue. And I'll tell you why. In Canada, we don't use voting machines. Okay? We export them to the United States, but we don't use them here. All ballots are counted individually by a person. Every candidate has scrutineers at every polling station and at all the mail-in ballots. So if you're thinking what you might want to do on election day, maybe you want to be a scrutineer for Alex or Shelley or Florian or for the party in Ottawa to mail-in ballots. That's how we make sure the vote is fair, that it has integrity. And I'm going to say to you, if we're not successful on September 20th, this could be the last election where I can say that there's integrity in the election. If Trudeau or O'Toole get a majority, we won't be just exporting the Dominion voting machines. Right? Another thing that comes up often is splitting the vote. And I want to tell you this. There is no such thing as splitting your vote. There is no such thing as splitting a vote. This election is clear. It's the most stark and profound choice you will ever make as a Canadian. You've got all the major parties, NDP, Green, Liberal, and Conservative, all wanting more restrictions on your life, all wanting more vaccines, more vax passports. And then you have one who stands for freedom. You can either vote for freedom or you can vote for tyranny. That's the choice that all Canadians have to make. It is a battle. It is a huge battle. And I got into this in April last year. And I'll share a couple of stories because it reflects on our society. Many people say to me, I can't believe what has happened to our country. And I think it's more like we don't want to believe what has happened to our country. We can believe it. All we have to do is open our eyes and see how our government is terrorizing our children in school. Yeah. Telling them that they're dangerous vectors of disease and that they may bring a disease home and kill their brothers and sisters, their moms and dads, their grandparents. We're doing that to children. We're doing it to the elderly, isolating them, confining them, making them live in terror, not knowing where their loved ones are, not being able to be comforted by their husbands and wives and sons and daughters. And we've seen that this has been, it is not just tragic, it is cruel what we've been doing to the people in Canada. And all of this has been unwarranted. It's unnecessary. It hasn't altered the spread of COVID in any fashion. We've seen the studies. We know the evidence. We may grant our government some latitude back in March of last year when there was a lot of misinformation coming out of the Communist Chinese Party, where there was a lot of doubts and unknowns being propagated by medical experts. All of them turned out to be wrong. Wrong by 100-fold, they were wrong. But still, our governments continue to invest in this narrative of fear. Everyone, there's things we have to do. It's not just going out and casting a ballot. There's many more things we can do. And I'll say this, because this has come up often. 2 short stories. We know in Canada there are at least 6.5 million people who are opposed to these measures, opposed to mandatory vaccines, opposed to restrictions. We also know that Justin Trudeau won the last election with 6 million votes. Can we win? Yes. Absolutely, we can win. Can we win? We must win on September 20th. The PPC is the home for those 6.5 million Canadians who want liberty and freedom for themselves, for their children, and for their grandchildren. And we know, it's an interesting story. 2 weeks ago in Nova Scotia, they had their provincial election. And there was one candidate in that election who had spoken out against lockdowns, who had attended anti-lockdown rallies. And she was kicked out of her caucus. Sound familiar? Yeah. She ran as an independent because there is no provincial PPC party there. But she ran as an independent. The polls on the night before the election pegged her at 8% support. But when the ballots were counted, she won with over 50% of the vote. And that tells us much. We know that in Canada, that many people oppose these measures. But we also know that if you speak out publicly, you may be shamed. You may be scorned. You may feel your job is at risk. And many people are being silent in their opposition. And I understand that. It's not time to be silent anymore. But it is the time when you can go into the ballot box and vote your conscience without anybody else knowing. And that's what Canadians are going to do on September 20th. But I'll say to you, let them call you names. Let them try to shame you on social media. Put a lawn sign in your yard. Tell your friends and neighbors that you're a free Canadian, free to have an opinion, free to express it, and be damned with them if they don't like it. They can put up their Liberal signs. They can put up their O'Toole signs. And we're going to put up our PPC signs and our Alex and our Shelley and our Florian signs throughout Ontario, throughout Canada. But there's still many people, because of this censorship by our mainstream media. We know they're preventing Max from being in the debate. We know that there's significant censorship in our social media. We have to work harder. We're the underdogs here. We've got a big hill to climb. But I know that Canadians can climb any hill when there's freedom at the top of it for us. So get some lawn signs. Get some flyers. If you've got a few hours every week or a few hours every day, deliver some lawn signs. Deliver some flyers. Make some phone calls. Make sure those 6.5 million Canadians know about Alex, know about Shelley, know about Max, know about the PPC, and know that there is hope on September 20th. The only time we'll ever have an opportunity to regain our country. And that is not I'm going to say, Trudeau has never done much right in his life. But he did one thing right, and that was to call this election. So that Canadians can pass judgment on this tyranny, pass judgment on his incentives to our provinces to shut us down. He has done so much danger, and he'll do more along with the rest of them. And we need to remember this. This is the same man who told us all before the last election that he admires the Communist Chinese Party. That's our Canadian Prime Minister. We are more like Communist China right now than China is. Are we going to let it get worse? Or are we going to fix it? Are we going to fix it on September 20th? Right. Absolutely right, we're going to fix it. We're traveling around. We're doing well. And I said to Max the last time I talked to him, I said, you're going to have a lot of PPC members elected. And I said, there's going to be a lot of people wake up on September 21st in a purple haze throughout Canada. We can do this. We have to do this. Just like our forefathers fought for us. Just like our forefathers and ancestors fought to ensure that Canada would be a great country, a free country, a democratic country. Just as they fought in the past, it is now our turn to stand up and fight for our children and our grandchildren. Thank you very much for being here. Get involved, get active, and let's win our Canada back on September 20th. Thank you very much.
Okay, folks, let's have another round of applause for Randy Hillier, who's been fighting over a year for our freedom. So, folks, up beside me, I've got Shelley-Udall. What's your full name? Shelley Sayle-Udall, my bad, sorry. Shelley is a PPC candidate locally, Kingston and the Islands. Give her a round of applause. Just like every other PPC candidate, she jumped in because she believes in Canada. So let's give Shelley the mic, let's give her our attention, and let's give her our support. Folks, Shelley.
No idea how nerve-wracking this is. Can you hear me now? Is it working? There's a story behind that. I know a lot about the immune system. That doesn't bother me. Anyway, sorry. I don't think you know how nerve-wracking it is being up here because I'm not a celebrity. I'm not a political figure. To stand up here in front of people and be looked at like this is very nerve-wracking, but I'm going to try and do my best. You guys are behind me. Gotcha. So I'm a mental health therapist. Our video's recording. If you have a video recording, can you just put your hand up? Can you pause it for just a second? Is it paused, really? My passion is children, and I'm a mental health therapist. And this is not our Canada, and this is not the country that I want for my children or your children. So I'm stepping up to the plate. You can turn it back on now. I'm a mental health therapist, so my areas of interest are mood and anxiety. As I stand up here, totally anxious. My other passion is trauma. And my third passion in therapy is family therapy. The other thing that I've been studying and learning about for 13 years is functional medicine. So when the pandemic started and I watched it, I got a little nervous. I was washing my groceries, and then I was like, wait a second, the numbers aren't right. And then I saw lots of censorship. All these doctors and medical experts that I had been following for 13 years started being censored. And they are the real health doctors. They are functional medicine doctors. They are not pharmaceutical subscribers of health. And I think there's a few other things. The erosion of liberties. I have a little bit of a policing background, and I studied the Charter of Rights and the Constitution, and there are safeguards in those particular pieces of legislation that protect Canadians from overreaching government powers. And we have somebody at the top who is absolutely sidestepping and stomping, whatever, all over these rights and these safeguards. And then we move into informed consent. And every single person who is involved in the medical system knows every single medical treatment requires informed consent. And again, it's being thrown around like it doesn't exist, and that's not okay. So tomorrow night I'm in a debate with the other 4 gentlemen in Kingston. They are all very nice people. You can see them on YouTube. When Jimmy Hassan profiled us, I made comments about what a great profile they did with him, because we're kind people. But we have somebody at the top who's also conditioning and teaching people to be mean and hateful. And I'm like, we just spent so many years trying to include people and recognize people for being diverse and different and unique. And he's saying up there, swaggling his finger, if you don't get vaccinated, there will be consequences. And I'm like, Screw you, Justin. You are not my chair. Just a quick hands up. Can I say that tomorrow night?
Absolutely.
I have the support from my people. I'm allowed to say that. I will. The other thing with that is, how dare you, Justin Trudeau, divide our country? I'm so sick and tired of this. It's not okay. He is picking and choosing who he likes and who he doesn't like. Which Canadians he supports and which ones he doesn't. Shame on you, Justin Trudeau, because you should be standing behind every single one of us. He's creating a society of haves and have-nots, and I am not okay with that. We've seen this occur in history before. How dare he? And tomorrow night, let's not give a heads up to the gentleman tomorrow night, so turn your videos off. I want to surprise him. Tomorrow night, I'm going to stand with the 4 other candidates, and I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room, seeing how everybody wants to talk about platforms. You can go to our website, you can look at our platforms. Where we stand right now is we have some things that require basic human needs, and we need to focus on that right now before we can worry about any other platform. We need to help heal Canadians first. We need to recover, we need to repair, we need to help us all be better instead of divided and angry at each other. How dare you, Justin, promote that? And tomorrow night, I want to say to the gentlemen that are going to be standing beside me in Cogeco, I like to say, if you know what's going on, and I know you do, put your signs down and vote for us and let us fix this. And we will join back here in 4 years and carry on from there. That's what I want to do. I'm good. I do. Awesome. Thanks for your support, everyone. I appreciate it. I needed to practice that today. I'm a lover, not a fighter. And I wish all of you were standing outside Cogeco tomorrow night like this, ramping me up before I walked in. Anyway, thank you so much, folks. PPC.
Big round of applause for Shelley. So, folks, she nailed it on the head. I saw something the other day on Twitter or Facebook or whatever, and Justin was talking about the unvaxxed versus the vaxxed, and he used a term. He said, those people are going to make it unhealthier for us. And I tweeted him back. I've already heard someone comment out there. I said, didn't Don Cherry get fired for something like that? And then I said, asking for hockey fans, which we in Canada are, of course, hockey fans. Except me, I'm a football fan. Okay, folks, let's have one more. She's a fireball wherever she is now. She is awesome. Let's give another round of applause for Shelley. Oh, she's back there. And now, folks, the main event. You've been waiting to hear from your PPC candidate, Alex Cassell. Now, before I have him come up to the stage, I want to say a few things about him, because he's probably too humble to talk about himself. I met Alex Cassell about a month and a half ago. I volunteered to be his social media coordinator, etc. And I actually had emailed PPC about 4 months ago, said, if you got a candidate for Leeds Grenville, I want to do their social media. They said, we'll send you an email when we get a candidate. So all of a sudden, Alex Cassell became the candidate. I got an email. Oh, Alex Cassell's your candidate. Here's his email address. Go meet him. So I met Alex a couple months ago, and I feel like he's a friend of mine already. This guy is grounded. He's a family man. He's a businessman. He's started a business about 13, 14 years ago. He's got 20 people working for him. He knows what small business owners go through on a daily basis. He gets frustrated when the decision makers at the top make decisions crushing small business in Canada. Folks, almost all of Gananoque was crushed with all these lockdowns. That's why you're all here, because you want something better. So does Alex Cassell. I listened to him on social media. He's been on a couple of interviews. Excuse me. He's been on a couple of interviews and stuff like that. This guy knows his finances. His business is financial planning. Well, why wouldn't he know about finances? Justin Trudeau has sent this country into a red ink spiraling nightmare downward. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you vote Alex Cassell, PPC, that's Randy Hillier, Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, Rideau Lakes into Parliament, he is going to get things done. Without any further ado, I cannot wait for you to hear what Alex Cassell has to say to you. Let's give it up for your riding candidate, Alex Cassell. Oh, okay. So we're going to play the campaign video. So Alex is we posted a ton of stuff on Facebook.
Against our prosperity, our rights, and freedoms in our lifetime.
Sorry, that's Maxine's. We're going to play Alex's campaign video first. Guys, if you're on social media, the other thing I'm going to say while she's organizing this video or this voiceover, and I'm going to sort of reiterate what Randy Hillier said. Talk to people. Talk to non-voters, people who haven't voted before. And the main reason, what I've seen from people who haven't voted before, is because there's never been a good choice. But it's up to you guys to say, there is a good choice now. It is the PPC, and of course in our riding, it is Alex Cassell. Okay, we're going to go without it. But anyway, folks, a round of applause for Alex Cassell. Here he is.
Everybody hear me okay? Yeah. I'm not sure how I'm supposed to follow all these fantastic speakers. I don't have much to say now. Everything's been covered. Can't hear me? Closer? Should I yell? Yeah, my lips are on the mic. Is that all right? Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for your support and being here tonight. You can tell this movement is growing. Most importantly, I want to thank my family. My family had to make this decision with me. It was a very difficult decision because it has nothing to do with me. This all has to do with you, our volunteers, and our country's prosperity. Anytime anybody steps into this political circle, or in the ring, if you will, it's very taxing on their family, their business, basically everything that they're dealing with in their lives. So I want to make sure that everybody's recognized. We're working very hard. Since the beginning of the campaign, what's kept me up at night the most is knowing all of these supporters are relying on me to work very hard to earn their vote, but also end up in Parliament. You all have faith that our campaign is going to work tirelessly to try to attract, as Steve mentioned, possibly the non-voting crowd. I've talked a lot about splitting the vote. I've had a lot of questions about this. We need to stop considering who we're voting out and start thinking about who we're voting in. Yeah. Fortunately, but unfortunately, when I started to notice the PPC, which we use as an acronym, but I think we have to talk about the actual word, the People's Party of Canada, I loved the platform that Maxime had started with. I joined as a volunteer, a member, long before COVID started. Since COVID has happened, this seems to be the only thing we talk about. I'm tired of listening to it. I'm tired of dealing with it. But we need to deal with the elephant in the room. This has to be the first piece of legislation that's passed in the House of Commons. Hopefully there's 100 PPC members of Parliament. Yeah.
Purple Wave.
The Purple Wave. The People's Party of Canada has grassroots candidates all across the country. I'm competing with a muffler. And we are ordinary citizens, fathers and mothers, grandmas and grandpas, that have figured out that if we don't stand up for what our beliefs, our rights, and the individuals that died in those battles here for our freedom, our country, our lives, our children and grandchildren's will be on a trajectory that we may never be able to turn around. I've mentioned to a few people recently, this weekend you need to turn your clocks back to 1938, because that's about where we're headed. We're starting to segregate people in an absolute despicable way. All of you need to attend as many events and as many rallies to try to get your voice heard. It's not just the candidate's responsibility, because it's the People's Party of Canada. We all need to be active. It doesn't matter if you haven't voted for many elections. This is your opportunity to vote for candidates in a party that is not a traditional political party in Canada. Most of you are aware the other 4 national parties are about the same. As Steve mentioned, my background's in financial planning. Canada's financial plan is a disaster.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Most members of parliament, whether they be provincial or federal, don't even know where money comes from. Money's printed primarily by our charter banks. They create from nothing. They lend it out to us, and they charge us interest on that money. The government spends that money and then taxes us at obscene percentages to pay the interest back. If you're following along, I'm sure you're seeing a pattern. I believe 10 years ago, it was estimated we paid $150 million a day in interest. Countries cannot recover from this unless extreme change is made. I've watched all of the major party platforms. Each of them promised taxpayers more money, more services. I don't believe the government should exist at all. Federal courts and our military should be the only focus of government. Private business is the soul and the heartbeat of our country. That's what people came to the West to develop. We ran away from exactly what we're setting the stage for here. We all need to realize that cutting off the support from government for services that can be privately taken care of, foreign aid, needs to end. Costly agreements with the Paris Climate Accord when we're producing less than 1% of all of our greenhouse gas emissions globally. We need to focus on our citizens. You want immigration? How are we going to take care of these people? We can't even take care of our own citizens. We have homeless veterans. We have native reserves with no running water. This is disgusting. And it's not just Justin Trudeau. It's every political party that has been voted in for the last 2 generations.
Corruption.
Stop buying votes. Start promoting people's responsibility. Traditionally, governments continue to provide support to their citizens until citizens are completely reliant on their services. And then they tell you to do something. Maybe it's get a vaccine. Maybe it's to get a passport so that you can participate in society. There's not much you can do because you've complied all along. They provide the services that you need or you think you need. And now you're in a position of coercion. Someday, I would love to see the health ministers across our country and our provinces held accountable for the damage they've done to our society. These people all need to be investigated. I'd love to see Dr. Teresa Tam's text messages. Yeah. Freedom of Information Act. Yeah. She works for us. Our government has convinced us their crown land is theirs. Their government buildings are theirs. We're to ask permission for everything, but we paid for it. It is ours. We need the peoples to take control of their country again, not be run by lobbyists and special interest groups. I don't know what the future of our country is or has. I have 3 children. I have a business. I'm a citizen. I'm a local. I've lived here my whole life, just down the road. I never thought in a million years I'd be standing up here trying to fight for the basic freedoms that we all took for granted, if you will, 15 years ago. The opportunities the generations before us had on the path that we're on today are completely gone. How could you look at your children today and tell them that they'll have the same opportunities, and this is the land of milk and honey, without realizing the writing on the wall? The best thing we can do is talk to our friends and family, spread the word organically. The CBC, the state-run media, they're silencing us.
Yeah. Communist Broadcast Corporation.
The political parties that are preaching diversity is our strength won't allow diversity of our opinions and allow our leader of our party, the fastest growing party in Canadian history, to debate the other candidates on the national stage. This is censorship that we've never seen before in Canada. Do you think the vaccine passport is the only thing we have to worry about? Do you think that the only thing we have to be concerned about is going to the restaurant? What's going to happen in 5 years when that's linked to all of your accounts? Or that's linked to maybe a social credit score, if you will? What are we going to do then? Where's the evidence? Conspiracy theories 6 months ago have become reality today. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. It means a lot. We're working very hard to try to get our word spread. We want to make sure more people know who the People's Party of Canada is. And although there's many different media platforms and different opportunities to advertise, the national party's budgets aren't the same as our local budgets here with the PPC. They have a monopoly when they use for their campaign dollars opposed to what we have. So I've been in financial services a long time, and the best way to grow our business is through like-minded individuals that help bring people to the polls, volunteer, get lawn signs, and spread the word. Thank you very much for listening.
So folks, right now, just stay up here, please, Alex. I'm going to call Randy Hillier and Shelley back up to the stage. We're going to have a bit of a Q&A, a question and answer. If you have a specific question you want, I'd like you to kind of come, either yell and I'll repeat the question with the mic so the people on the stream can hear. And I'll try to get some questions. The other thing we're going to do is we got a little drone helicopter going to fly up and take some pictures of overhead. But anyway, so first question. What's your question?
Question is, there's a united nurses against the vaccine. They should have a united teachers against the vaccine.
So, okay, it's a comment. He says you've got a united nurses against the vaccine. You should have a united teachers against the vaccine as well. Oh,
And we do. It's called Educators for Human Rights. You can find them on Facebook, and you can also find them on my No More Lockdowns page, and you can also find them on the Liberty Coalition Canada page as well. All right.
okay, that's awesome. Okay, your question, sir. Okay, so we're going to speak. I'm going to let Alex speak to this. The guy wants us to speak to early voting and referendums, and Alex has a brilliant idea for any major bill. You gonna do the idea for the major bill? Yeah. Okay, here we go.
Thanks for your question. I've never been in politics before in the House of Commons, but I believe that each member of Parliament should vote on strategic bills or important bills, or really any bill, based on the constituency's wants, not based on what the National Party's whip wants them to vote on. So what I would suggest, I don't know how exactly you would do this. 2021, we'll figure it out, how we address the constituents to ask them what they want their member of Parliament to vote on. I think this is crucial for us to monitor the people who are to serve us as the taxpayers. They are not there to work for the government, they're there to work for us.
And for early voting, start September 10th. There's no time like as early as you can. Get out, vote often, vote early, right? And you can find out the advanced polling stations from each. They're different in each riding. So contact Alex, contact Shelley, the campaigns. They'll be able to provide you when the polling, advanced polling are open. And I think that's about it.
I'm going to ask that one question that I asked.
Okay, before you do another question,
Yeah. Yeah. We've got the rose between two thorns.
okay, thanks, guys.
Okay, folks. Before the next question, and I do have a question. They want to talk. They want to talk about what was the first thing? Digital money. Everything going to digital money, where they can control us, I guess. And there was one other thing, and I forgot it already. Sorry. Where's my questioner? Oh, universal income. Thank you. Okay? Alex would love to talk about universal income and digitizing money. Here we go.
I'll touch on universal income. I absolutely could not believe that this would be a part of any political party's platform. Obviously, there's disability support. Obviously, there's different supports in place that make perfect sense. For anybody to have a guaranteed income paid for by the taxpayers doesn't create any kind of prosperity in our country or motivation for anybody. You can ask, I know I've spoken to 3 or 4 business owners that have businesses here in Gan, they can't find people to work. This is a problem. This needs to end. The suggestion that we would pay someone to live a basic income is unbelievable.
So I have a few thoughts on that too, just to complement, because I'm not into tearing people down, but complementing what's already been said. In regards to people and a universal basic income, from a mental health perspective, people feel better when they have a purpose in life instead of sitting around at home. So for those who are struggling with mental health or even disability, there are lots of things that we can have those people do so that they can feel like they're a productive member of society, so that they can mix and mingle with their workforce or with people. so that, because we are wired to connect with others. So you may have a disability, but maybe you can read books to children. Maybe you can make audio. I mean, really, we need to get rid of the digital stuff because, to be honest, technology is putting us on autopilot. We can't see in front of our face to know what's in front of us with nature and with people around us, and connecting to where we actually evolved from. That's going to take me into microbiome and medicine and stuff like that, and I won't go there. But in order to have purpose, there are lots of things that we can do, even if it is just picking up garbage, having a meaningful job, and that people can rely on you, and being able to be out in the community mixing and mingling with others.
I just saw Pastor Bruce come in, so I had to make a mention that Pastor Bruce was here. Nice to see you, Bruce.
My riding and my church riding. My parents.
Justin Trudeau said
So-
that if you look at that, he's going to secure banks.
So just on the universal basic income, Shelley made a good point, and this is what often we don't allow elected representatives to explore and examine during the political process. They're told what the party's talking point is, and that's about as far as the thinking goes. We know this. Universal basic income is a fancy 3-word statement that describes socialism and communism. That's what it is. And when you take away the purpose and meaning and productivity and production from people, what we end up with is a country like Canada during COVID-19. So many people are feeling without purpose, without meaning, without productivity. And we're seeing the great numbers of people with mental health crisis, not mental health problems. They're in crisis. Our children's hospitals are full of children depressed because they don't have any purpose or meaning, because they've taken away their recreation. They've taken away their schooling. They've taken away their interactions with other kids. And the last thing we want to do is make it permanent in this country, in my humble opinion.
I had a comment from a lady who's already sitting down suggesting that Justin Trudeau will eventually access your bank accounts if you don't get the vax. So there's always these threats. It's pretty scary. Next question.
We won't let them do that.
There is something to that. No, I know.
No, but I should just mention. Go ahead. Listen, we have got a huge national debt. We spent more money in the last year with COVID than we spent in the 6 years of the Second World War. That's insane dollars, right? More in 1 year with COVID than 6 years of the war. It's going to be paid back. And it's not going to feel nice how it's going to be paid back. Right? And I'll just put this out because we have the same laws here in Canada. Justin Trudeau changed our laws in 2017. If you remember what happened with Greece and Portugal and Italy when they had a debt crisis. Anybody remember that? What was the solution? The government seized bank accounts and cash. Everything, I believe it was over 50,000 euros in Greek bank accounts was converted into non-transferable bank stock to keep the banks afloat and the government running. We have the same laws here in Canada. That debt's going to be paid back. We need to have a government that gets our freedom back, but then make sure that they also don't take our bank accounts with it and our assets.
Let's give a round of applause to that answer.
What's your name?
My name's Stark.
Stark is shaking everybody's hands before he asked the question.
I tell everybody Dad was drunk.
Apparently his dad was drunk when he named him Stark.
I think isn't that maybe you came out of that novel series? What was the name of that series on TV?
No, I'm too old to tell you that.
So you have a question, sir.
Yeah, moving forward, what are we going to do about the obvious censorship in mainstream media? How can that be
Okay.
addressed?
Shelley, the tigress here, wants to answer that question. His question was, what are we going to do about censorship moving forward? Assuming the PPC is in, Shelley will finish.
Okay, so when I was talking about censorship, I think the beginning of the censorship started with the medical experts. What I want you to know is this. Under the direction of Dr. Stephen Malthouse, does everybody know Dr. Stephen Malthouse? I think Dr. Brian Brittle, I think he's part of this as well, but I'm not sure. They have formed Canada's Health Alliance. Have you heard it, seen it? It's on. They have a website. Canada Health Alliance, I think, .org or .ca. They have been collecting doctors, surgeons, nurses, any medical professional, and including those that are also registered with other colleges, such as naturopaths, chiropractors, psychotherapists, and Dr. Stephen Malthouse is right now and has been for the last month trying to step in between children and the vaccine. And he has asked people across Canada, any volunteers, that if you see any sort of incentivized program bribing, coercing vaccination for children under the age of 18, you let their team know. What they are doing is you have to find the person most directly involved with the organization of what's going on, whoever that is, their name, and a place where a registered letter, notice of liability, can be delivered to. And you have to show the proof that they are responsible for that particular program, such as Vaccine-a-Palooza that happened in Kingston a couple weekends ago.
Vaccine machine.
There's another one, Vaccine Machine.
It's a green machine, Mark Harrison.
Yeah. Anyway, the censorship, what you need to know is Dr. Stephen Malthouse's bigger vision is to overhaul Canada's medical system and not allow the censorship of professionals and their medical expertise to be censored. With them, we also have the Canadian COVID Care Alliance.ca with a lot of valuable resources. And then again, we have all these other ones such as Rocco and the Liberty Association. But when it comes to censorship, we can get rid of Bill Gates, as far as I'm concerned. He disgusts me.
We'll send him to the gates of hell.
Absolutely. The best way to get through censorship is to use our mouths like we used to in the old days.
And PPC also wants to defund CBC. Next. What's with all the applause? What did I say? Kidding.
Voting on September 20th.
So there's a question. Elite athlete, they're forcing all the rep teams and stuff to get vaccinated before they play hockey and all this kind of stuff, going to school. Her question is, what can she do about it? Randy, off the cuff, said, just vote on September 20th. And she says,
That is the solution.
but she said tryouts are now, so we got to get till September 20th. So does anybody want to take that? Shelley does.
I'm all about medicine and medicine being done properly. Under the informed consent, you have to be educated on all the medical treatments that are available. If somebody says, show me proof that you've been vaccinated, you say under the Personal Health Protection Plan, HIPAA, PHIPPA, something like that.
HIPAA.
Yeah. Anyway, under that, you do not have to say a word. Do not disclose your medical information. Because once you do, you open the door to continuing to do it. I'm sorry, that's personal and private medical information. It is against the law for them to ask, and anybody in health and mental health knows this. And anybody who has been conditioned over the last year to believe that that's what they're supposed to do and thinks they're going to do it, say, I'm sorry, that's personal and private medical information. And then you follow through and you let them be the jerks that they probably will be and let it play out on them.
So listen,
Personal health.
Anyway, it's the PHIPAA is the short form. PHIPPA, I believe. It's a provincial statute. So, listen, I should also say that on my website, nomorlockdowns.ca, and on the libertycoalition.com website, we have a bunch of advice and information up there on how people may assert their conscientious rights to object to vaccines. But I'm going to say, so read that, understand it, and arm yourselves with the knowledge that's in there. This is crucial. And see if it's applicable to you. And I've been, as an MPP, I am also a commissioner of oaths and affidavits. And I've been commissioning oaths and affidavits regarding those conscientious objections, right? But I will also say, at best, it's a delay mechanism. We see governments keep coming out with more and more and more. But it can be an effective delay mechanism. But really, the solution is September 20th. Where you cast your vote will be the solution. But go on those websites. If you need it sworn before a commissioner, contact my office. We also have other people who have agreed to swear out those documents on the nomorlockdowns.ca page and the libertycoalition.com.
So the two acts are the Personal Health Information Act and the Personal Health Information and Protection Act. And if you want to know more, I will repost the informed consent video from the Canada Health Alliance on my Facebook page. I think you have to be my friend, but it's public, so you might be able to watch it. And I will repost it so you can watch it. Please watch it. There's a lot of valuable information to know your rights.
Okay, next question. Great questions, guys.
So, first of all, I wanted to thank you all for speaking out against the COVID atrocity.
Thank you, everybody, for speaking out against the COVID atrocity.
And I have a question focused on the plan, which I noticed in the platform to eliminate the deficit in 2 years. Could you speak to that? I noticed you were chatting about elimination of the CBC. That sounds like a good step.
Yeah.
What else can you do?
Okay, so he's saying in the platform, Maxime wants to eliminate the deficit in 2 years. He wants to speak to that. He then, tongue-in-cheek, of course, said, yeah, eliminating the CPC, $1.6 billion a year ought to help with that. But we'll let Alex, the money man, speak to that. Here we go.
I'll try to. I don't have an open book of the government's finances right now, but I think the spirit of the idea here is to reduce government spending, whether it be through costly UN treaties, through the Paris Climate Accord, for example. Also, federal governments meddle in far too much in our private lives. Our private lives, whether it be in farming or other business regulations, this all costs taxpayers money. I would, personally, I feel that anytime government wants to legislate one new regulation for an industry, they need to remove at least two regulations that already exist.
Here.
The only way we are going to grow our small businesses is by deregulation and attracting investment. Canada is not an attractive place for investment currently. I know, I'm in business. There's far other places that don't have a progressive tax system that cripple any opportunities that we have to grow. So I believe that reducing the deficit would be just basically reducing government spending, explaining people to take more responsibility, and lowering our income taxes so that we have more control of the money that we earn to make decisions on how we spend it, not how the government spends it.
I don't know how many people know, but that United non-compliance, I think is a really great thing. Like, I was out west all the time. I went out west this summer and nobody was wearing masks anywhere. We do not need to wear masks.
Okay, so he's suggesting, and I'm going to give this to Randy to talk about because he's been doing it for about a year. He said this United non-compliance. And he says he's been traveling all over the country, and there's so many people not wearing masks. They're doing this. So if we united non-compliance, I'm going to let Randy talk to that.
No. Listen. I've never worn a mask. Right? And I'm not going to. And but this is a deeper and a complicated question. Because there is many business owners don't fully understand the law, and our public health units have been purposeful in being ambiguous and uncertain and giving the wrong information to our businesses. And there is a lot of fear by many people, rightly or wrongly. But, I would say to everybody, and I also will not tell anybody my private medical information. I've been asked. They don't like the answer I give, but it's the answer I give them. When did it become appropriate to be rude in this country? To ask or demand personal, private information? Because that's what it is.
I have a colonoscopy they can see too if they want.
She gets into more details than I do. But I also understand, we're all unique. We're all individuals. Some people have a greater tolerance for confrontation or a greater level of assertiveness. So, and other people have less. Right? But, I would say to everybody, I am respectful. If there is a business, not that it's happened to me, but if there is a business that truly doesn't want me in that business because I'm not wearing a mask, I'm not going to have a fight with them. I'm not going to get to the knuckles. Okay? I'll go somewhere else where they want my business. Right? But you also, I walk into a store and I have been asked, I've been asked, where's your mask? And I say, where it belongs. I've been asked, you're not wearing a mask. And I say, you're very observant. And I've been asked, you need to wear a mask. And I say, I'm unable to wear a mask. And that's my answers. Right? But you have to feel you'll be surprised. Many people would be surprised just how many businesses actually express a sigh of relief when they see somebody come in not wearing a mask. Not all of them, but have confidence in yourself, have confidence that there's a great many other Canadians like you that want to have their freedom, that don't want to have a confrontation. So do what you can. Do it as often as you can. But, you know, I would say the hallmark of Canadians are to be polite, to be respectful, but also to have a backbone and to assert it whenever it's needed to.
Okay, we got a couple more questions, but before we do, over here, can you two just wave your hands? Right there, we've got a sign-up sheet for anybody that wants to volunteer for the Alex Cassell campaign. And the guy with the glasses, if you do want to make a donation, there was someone who wanted to make a donation, talk to him. He's the finance guy. And Shelley, I don't know if you have a list. You have a sign-up list? Or same list. Oh, if you want to volunteer for Shelley's campaign in Kingston, the Islands, sign up on that list and we'll send her the names, etc. We have one last question here. Thank you for being patient. Comment and a question.
That was it.
Okay, so the first one is a comment. He basically said, Trudeau a couple months ago basically said, oh, no, we'll never separate people by a vaccine. And you can see by the latest, well, this past week, how he's been hammering people without vaccines. So what the comment is, Trudeau has really flip-flopped.
Oh, it's Ford.
Sorry?
Ford, too.
And Ford. Good call.
No, that was announced today. That was announced today.
Okay, so the question is, you know, if they're flip-flopping all this and they say, well, we're going to have like a social credit score, what's to stop them from doing a social credit score 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month down there? So I don't know that we can answer that question. The answer that Randy Hillier would say is, get out and vote. Oh, he's got one more. Hold on. Question for Shelley, the Tiger. Good luck to Shelley or.
And so would you prefer that I pay you or the PPC?
Would you prefer that I pay you directly or PPC headquarters? Let's give a round of applause for the donation. Yeah. Here we go.
Okay. Everybody can donate up to $1,650 to the People's Party of Canada. Everybody can donate up to $1,650 to the Riding Association. And everybody can donate up to well, I shouldn't say everybody can. Not everybody would be. But that's the maximum limit. Then you can donate up to $1,650 for Shelley's campaign, for Alex's campaign, but only. So anyway, that's the allowable limits. Go on their websites, go on the PPCA, and if you can contribute money to buy more signs, contribute money to buy more flyers, do so.
Tell your neighbor.
And talk to your neighbors. Another question. Okay. Okay, so the question is homeschooling. How are we going to support veterans? How are we going to support veterans and homeschooling? Two questions.
Shelley. Well, we will both. But when it comes to homeschooling, I think the question was, and what support? Is that what you're asking?
About how France banned homeschooling?
Yeah. Yeah, I believe that your family, children should be raised by a community, their family, maybe their church group. I don't think the government should raise your children. I believe,
right on.
I believe that schools should be run by parent councils, not by school boards. And I think any teacher that doesn't go along with the ideology of the parent council should be fired. I have no interest at all in my child being indoctrinated from a government-run facility. So I encourage anybody who can homeschool their children, especially in today's world, to do it. There's going to be many private school options that start to come out of the woodwork. I'm not sure if anybody knows of Heritage Christian Community School in New Dublin. That's where my children go. I feel that it's a great program, but homeschooling is the basis of learning. Don't listen to what they tell you. Your children will learn just fine at home. Better at home. Don't submit to the idea to spend your life serving a soulless corporation, because when you're at the end of your life, the last thing you're going to want to look at is saying, God, I wish I would have spent more time at work. Raise your family.
So I just want to add the other half of that coin. As a mental health therapist, I get the homeschooling piece. You shouldn't have to homeschool your kids. And I think what that speaks to is that we have systems. And I've been in the systems of different systems a lot, and they're all broken as far as I'm concerned. And if Dr. Stephen Malthouse is going to take care of the medical system, and we create a working group to take care of this educational system, there's some old school things that are being taught that are irrelevant to today. And we also have a correctional system that maybe needs a little bit of work on as well. We have a whole bunch of systems that are broken.
Okay. Now, or veterans.
This is how I support veterans. I'm standing right here, and I'm picking up from where they left off.
I might fall. Shelley's more flexible, I think.